this story can be really long, so I will try to make it very quick. And then later, with your questions in the end, let's deep dive into a specific parts and such that relate also to your own life. But when I was young and graduated from the university, many people have high aspirations and dreams, what they want to be. They don't necessarily know what they want to be, but many of us would like to have a fancy car, nice home, holidays in good places, and so on, and not have to look after our food bill, for example, when we go to the Tesco or whatever food store, right? So that kind of basics in order, and ideally a little bit more. So without money being the sole motivator of your life, it's still kind of a basic that you can pay your bills and you can sleep your nights in peace. So I didn't quite know what to do. And I had managed to get a foothold in construction industry and real estate industry, and was there sort of a vice CEO or chief operations officer for a really small construction company of some 40 people or so. And when that Lehman Brothers crisis came 2008, which is a little bit representative, like people are speaking now that the recession is coming in the many news, that construction industry went quite much bust. And then I was approached by the headhunter from an IT company called Oracle, which is one of those big ones like IBM and Microsoft and Amazon and Google. And Oracle in Dublin in Ireland had a remote business center. Some people call it call center. Some people like me call it the dog school, where you put the young puppies and they learn to become properly trained dogs. And dog now is a not negative word here. It means that you become a real terrier. You are ready to eat others for breakfast, and they don't even notice that they are eaten alive. So this is a very rude metaphor, but what I'm trying to say to you that the ones who get through that kind of schools, that kind of education of the young rookies, they become superstars. And I will tell you that once you come to working life in position like me, you will clearly see the difference who have gone through the SDR school and who have not, because it shows in very basics. So it's a really, really good career part to start with. But before I went to that Dublin place, I was at the airport there in Heathrow changing airplane back to Finland, where I originally come from. And I saw one famous CEO who was queuing also the same airplane, famous from the newspapers and so on. This was a time before Facebook and LinkedIn. And there was also someone aside him, I don't know, his secretary or vice president, some young man, whoever. And I was just deciding that now or never, this is the chance of my lifetime. So I went to that CEO and I said, I'm terribly sorry to disturb you. I see that you have important discussion ongoing, but could I just have 2 minutes of your life time to ask one question? It's okay if you cannot answer. And he was very puzzled, the old man. And the young man aside of him seemed to be super annoyed, but nevertheless, I got the old man's attention. And he says, okay, shoot. And I say, what should I do? Should I go back to that construction company founder whose company just went bust and he wants to start a new company, and I get maybe a fancy title directly? And, they say that leadership you only learn by leading other people and so on. So directly to the top. Not maybe good salary, but nevertheless, it's experience and it's worth taking. Or should I go maybe with lower salary, still lower salary, to Dublin, to this Oracle's remote center, and get the training, whatever they get, and then grow slowly there, and maybe after 20 years get to the same position where I would get now directly. This is a very tough choice for me. And he said to me that, look, I'm not going to tell you advice. You make your own choices. It's your own life. However, think about this. And this is relevant for each of you who listen now. How much a small company has deep pockets, that means money, to invest in you, means to put you different trainings, soft skill, hard skills, language skills, mathematics, whatever, personal psychologue. They have even that, psychotherapy in big companies. Can you imagine? Or the gym tickets or movie tickets or whatever you might expect. How many small companies can afford that? They can't even afford a kickoff. So the small companies have small resources. The big companies have big resources. So he said to me, you make your choice. You have correct with the fact that if you become the leader in a young age, you learn leadership by example and so on. However, you will never get that personal training and courses that the big company can provide. And later, after you have received that training and you come back to Finland or wherever you go to a smaller company, you have tremendous assets because you have been formed by those trainings that they could never have afforded. And then you can lift that company to a completely different level because otherwise you would have never got that training. Now, I don't know what Johnny and Jack and other ones have been teaching you in this program. I have not gone this program, but if they have been teaching you the basics of SDR, that's a little bit the same story what I tell you. That's rock solid training that otherwise the small companies usually don't afford to buy for their employees. So I made the choice. What he said he didn't recommend, but between the lines it was clear. Go west, young man, and get that skills, and then come back later. And the rest is history. Here I am. But in between, there was many steps. And I saw there, and again, feel free to make your notes and ask questions in the end. We can come to that. But Oracle, the American SDR program for young potentials and graduates who had few years of work experience and so on, was at that given time quite tough school. Today, they have maybe different culture, different rules, and different managers. But back then, in 2008, the culture was up or out. It's the Oracle way or highway. Very American thinking. You deliver or you die. Hardcore. And that meant basically that the ones who overachieved their targets, they got really good bonuses and they could negotiate themselves different layers. So there was the SDR level 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And each layer you have a little bit salary increase potentially. And then from that SDR role, you can advance to what was back then called telesales. Nowadays, remote selling is very normal, even for normal sales. So you can make even $1 million deals over web conference like this. But before COVID, that was not so normal for most of the traditional companies. Nevertheless, if you were good in SDR, you were promoted to selling online over. And if you were really good at selling online over, later you were maybe promoted to the field to become a field salesperson. Or you might have advanced elsewhere to customer support, to marketing, whatever roles might open up to you. But the story was that only the ones who hit their target and overperformed, they were promoted. The ones who did not hit their targets, they were said quite fast, thank you and bye-bye. Go with the milk train back home. Oh, I don't know what is the expression in England, but that's in my language. Nevertheless, and the ones who were quite close to hit their target but did not quite get it, they were given second year and so on. So it was up or out. And amazingly, and this is maybe hard for you to believe when you read the news, and they speak about tech investments being in freeze in US, venture capital hard to come to SaaS startups, interest rates going up, lots of layoffs in the tech companies and so on. Still, the matter of the fact is that when there is recession, usually the tech companies, they go through the recession relatively unharmed. Now, there's lots of different kind of tech companies out there, and some of them do get hit. So from Sweden, one of the largest fintechs in Europe, Klarna, valuation has gone down 80%, and they have been laying massively off people. However, tech is not one, tech is multiple. So you have several different avenues in tech. So you need to be smart with your choices and look at that kind of tech companies who are more or less recession-proof, who are serving the clients who are recession-proof, for example, pharmaceuticals or other sectors. And then you know that here they will thrive anyway. So usually this happened also back in 1990s, maybe not many of you were not even born back then, when everything else in society collapsed. Tech, for example, telcos, they kept on investing to 5G, 6G, whatever is out there. So choose wisely, try to choose that kind of companies that are doing well, and you shall be doing good. Now I have been speaking here monotonously for a while, I have planning to switch gears to go a little bit faster, but before we jump to this faster speed, Johnny and Jack or anyone, would you have any comment or question before we go to the next stage?
No, I think that's been brilliant. Been brilliant. I'd like to open the floor to anyone else in case anyone else has any questions so far. I think just to clarify again, training at the moment, would you say, in terms of the beginning of your career, training is key, making sure that you just sort of train yourself up on your upskill? Just to reiterate, Kari, is that sort of the context of what you're saying in terms of your experience with Oracle? Yeah.
Indeed. So many people take this for granted, and many people take this less seriously. But even if you would take less seriously, try to do it anyway, and try to do it in many different formats. So look YouTube videos, listen podcasts, try to read white papers, try to read a book, look some movie, whatever that is related to this. For example, Wolf of the Wall Street or something like that. The story is that you don't need to be greedy, you don't need to be a bad person. Keep your ethics and integrity, but try to endorse yourself with information. And even better, try to identify who are the top performers. So not the books, not the teachers, not the videos. That's also something you need to do. But try to identify in your future companies or in the industry or wherever you might notice. In LinkedIn, someone is posting that they got to President's Club or whatever awards they got as the best performer or something. Reach out to them, try to connect them, try to suck into you, vacuum clean, hoover into you as much information as possible, and informal and formal. Because little by little, you will polish yourself like a diamond. And that will show and pay off after 3 years, 5 years, 15 years, 20 years. You will see that you set yourself apart from the rest of the whoever you are competing with or whoever you are working with in the future, because you will know the brilliant basics. And that's what Johnny and Jack are trying to teach you, the brilliant basics. But it's not self-evident that whatever they teach you, it will stick in your mind. That's why you need to reinforce this. And I still myself listen occasionally at different kind of trainings and so on, and involve myself to them because you need to always refresh yourself to keep it accurate or relevant, fresh, so to say. But maybe one of the key things relating to training and how it keeps in your mind, because the soft skills are the hard skills in business. Just with the nuance of your voice or the way you ask for a service or some information can make or break the deal, and it can have really significant impact. How do you do your questionnaire? If you are trying to fish out information from clients with some methodology like MEPIC, MEPDIC, BAND, or whatever, it might be your different kind of criteria. If you post them in the wrong fashion, it might feel like interrogation and no one wants to open up to you. Tony, I see you have again a comment.
I'm sorry, I tried to set people up just so that I can ask something that I think can benefit the whole group. I think you touched on it there really crucially. I think somebody that's in a position of a VP, right? Because sometimes we can talk about soft skills and hard skills and training, but how crucial is attitude in terms of how you approach people, how you speak to people, how you carry yourself, your facial expressions, your tone, and how you're presenting yourself to people? Because I think sometimes at this stage people can get so caught up in the training that they underestimate the impact of how they present themselves and the way they communicate. So would you just sort of elaborate for the group how crucial attitude can be in these places?
You read my mind, because I was just about to come to that. One of the critical things that some sales books teach you is that you need to believe in your product and service and be enthusiastic, because that's contagious and people will capture that. However, if it's fake, it's not real and people can read through it. So it's kind of tricky if you have to try to push or fish out information about some boring product that you don't really believe in, and your management is just whipping you that you need to deliver results, and you are dead tired, and it's Friday night and now you would like to go to party actually. So it's not really working out the last hours, but you still have to hit your number. How do you do? One of the things is that actually it's not so much about your personal energy level. To a certain extent, yes. It's about the receiver. So Johnny has a certain energy level, and Jack has other energy level, and I have other energy level. Instead, you need to identify in the first seconds, is it 5 or 10 or 15 seconds, what kind of animal you have other side of the table. Is it a lion? Is it an elephant? Is it an ant? Is it a flower? Is it a bird or is it a fish? What I try to say with this metaphor is that if you have very slow speaking, conservative individual, you need to adapt your style to that individual. It's called mirroring. So then you also become that. If you hear from half sentence that this individual is very focused on numbers or wants to have quick answers, very quick and snappy, then you need to reply in quick and snappy way. If this person is more visionary and so on, then you need to bring that visionary into the picture. So there is no one attitude. There are several different attitudes in your playbook, and you need to adapt to the audience. And one of the things you can do before the call is to prepare for it and try to find out from this individual, if possible, to hear what kind of type of person this is. So it's extremely important that you match that and try to find out. Sometimes you don't get that information. If you don't get that information, then you need to try to identify in the first 5 or 15 seconds, is this factual or emotional person, and so on and so on. But before that, we should go still step backwards to the basics. So not just me, but you who listen to this, when you are graduating now or going to the work life, there are different ways to get into tech. And this SDR route is one of them. And believe me or not, some people who are programmers and quite well-paid programmers, developers, they also want to go to sales and come through SDR way. Because sales is different. You can do sales as an introvert, you can do sales as an extrovert. And whatever is your personality, no one cares about your color, your religion, your beliefs. As long as you have high integrity, you don't commit crime, and you are not manipulating people, you are just trying to help them to solve their problem. Instead of pushing your product, you try to find out what is their challenge and how you can help them to overcome that challenge, and how the challenge is big enough so that they want to move forward with you, so that they connect with you. And this is not done by persuading. It's more about them than it's about us or about our product and so on, about their context, listening to them and opening them up with questions and so on. But before you get there, maybe you end up in a negative situation. Maybe you end up in depression, or you are in some kind of a heavy call center with really tough metrics. No one is helping you. Definitely don't get bonuses or candy. Instead, you get whip and shouting. Maybe you have a manager directly from hell. What can you do? That's not really the most optimistic or best positive standout place. You have to keep in your mind that this now sounds a little bit overselling, but keep in mind that these guys, Johnny and Jack, have given you golden ticket, stairway to heaven. And definitely it doesn't feel like that if you are in this call center from hell with really nasty manager. However, let's again remind us about the facts. The fact is that there are more sales jobs open up there than people who want to become salespeople. And SDR is the strongest path to become a salesperson, because whoever can become a salesperson, but it doesn't mean that they are successful as salespersons. You need to have strong background. You have to have your DNA, your skeleton, your structure, your discipline. And that hardcore you learn through the SDR training process. And that sets the best apart from the ones who go with relationship or feeling or intuition, or they push over you as a bulldozer with their great enthusiasm. The ones who have gone through the SDR school, they pause someone who tries to run over you as a bulldozer. And they close the deal and bigger deals, because they actually know how to listen and dig deeper and find more information and extend the case and so on. Now, however, coming back to the point, what is the story? There are more sales roles than there are salespeople, and not all salespeople are successful. SDR can help you to become more successful. That there are more sales roles than there are salespeople means that if you are in that nasty from hell call center, don't worry. Do that 1 year or something that your CV looks solid, and you can jump to the next, ideally, tech company, big or small. No one tells this to you in school, and not in the newspapers either, but there is more or less 4 industries where you make significant money. There might be others, but the 4, Johnny, I will just give you a moment. I will just give you time, but just summarizing this, these 4 industries, they are the American IT companies, sometimes maybe UK or European, but the fact is that the Americans, they are crazy with money, they pay better. And then there's the pharmaceutical industry, and there's the banking industry, and then there's the oil industry. And oil, we might think that it's unethical and so on. Well, there's also renewable oil, if you didn't know. But nevertheless, the story is that in those industries, normally the salaries are higher than in other industries. If you manage to get to those industries through your SDR track record, then you will be financially sound and safe before you are 30 or 40 or whatever is you get relatively fast compared to your other peers. Why am I telling you all this? Is because if you are again in that nasty directly from the hell call center, don't worry. There is tech companies for every industry. There's tech companies for pharma. There's tech companies for oil. Tech companies for financial sector. Tech companies for tech companies who are producing tech for other tech companies. So just choose your niche. There's everything you want: food tech, even sex tech. Not that it would be my cup of tea, but nevertheless, there is tech for everything you just can imagine. And as long as they're American, for example, they pay crazy high salaries. So now you might also criticize this comment and say, not here where I live. Here they give me a 20,000 a year, and that's fine. Take it not as a job. Take it as a lesson or your ticket to the next level. You have to, pardon my French, swallow some amount of shit first. And more you do the push-ups in the gym, more your muscles will grow. So this sounds very counterintuitive, but more you do the lift ups in the gym, more your muscles grow. So similarly, this sounds really a bit crazy, but more shit you swallow, stronger you become. So that means longer time you stay in your SDR role, not necessarily in the same company, but in the industry. More you get trainings, more you get experience, more you get exposure, more you see different nuances, perspectives. Because the SDR in Oracle is different than SDR in IBM, which is different than the SDR in the startup. If you manage to do SDR role, let's say in 2 or 3 companies, you are rock solid rock star and no one can beat you. You can beat the Oracle SDR 6-0 because they have only experience from the Oracle SDR job. Now you would ask that, why on earth would I like to stay SDR forever? I want to jump to next level to sales or management or whatever. And that's completely fine to have those dreams. But I'm telling you now that if there's one thing I regret, this sounds crazy, but if there's one thing I regret, is that I didn't stay myself longer in the SDR role, because it's about tattooage. You are writing that into your DNA with the ink to your skin, those skills, and you shall remember the rest of your life, and they will set you apart then when you are later, because they will always be in your backbone, in your mind, that structure. So what's the story? The story is that you will get bonuses, and when you start to get enough bonuses, then the management suddenly becomes very humble. They want to keep you, and when you say that you have offer from competitor, they will raise your salary, just keep you there. So if you have the bad month, and now I'm finishing, and Johnny, over to you. But if you have the bad month in that call center from hell, just remember that that bad manager is going to stay. You won't. You will be more appreciated somewhere else. You have the power. You are the strongest card, and they know that they will have a problem when you have left there. They don't know what they have missing. They will be the losers, and you will be the winner, because you are in charge of your own destiny. So this means that wherever you end up to, in a good place or bad place, or the good place that turns out to be a bad place, or so on, it's about your attitude, was Johnny's question. If your attitude is that I squeeze everything out of this lineman, I squeeze all the energy, all the juice, all the vitamins, and after you're done, you jump to the next adventure, and little by little, like I have done in my career, going to the telephone sales, going to field sales, going to management, going to middle management, going to EMEA management, and now head of sales. So the whole story is that you are in charge of your life, and you take best out of it. And those other ones, they are happy to have you. Those little moments that they get your chance. Never be a victim. Always run your own show. So Johnny, now over to you. You had a question.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much. Extremely motivating. I think for where a lot of the guys are, they're starting to interview and sort of start to meet, hiring managers and stuff like that. And you know what? I don't want to take credit for this question. I'm doing Michael Silver a favor, who's currently at work, and he passed me this question on to ask. And Michael said, as we're about to enter into the industry, as a head of sales, having been an SDR yourself, having been the person that's getting interviewed and then doing the interviewing, if you could summarize what makes a successful SDR for you, what makes a successful interview for you, what qualities and characteristics are you looking for in an ideal candidate from a first impression perspective? Because a lot of these guys are going to go into interviews and have to make a first impression, and there are the usual questions, right, that you come across. Why do you want to be an SDR? What makes you, why do you want to get into sales? So as a head of sales, if you're looking to hire somebody, what do you look for?
Well, there's several questions, or let's say that one big question can be cut into several pieces. So one of the things is exactly this. When you get a question, ask question back. What do you mean? And so on. So just try to probe deeper. What is actually behind your question? And in that sense, one thing that really impresses me is that if someone has done their homework, and that means a little bit more than just say that, hey, you did great career move so far, because that's a little bit cheesy and that's what everybody can say. If you have actually studied the product or competitors or potential customers or something about that company where you are in, and you let that come across natural way at certain point in the interview, or especially in the end, if they say that if you have some questions, then you can ask some specific question about the customers or market, and that will just blow them off. Because believe me or not, this is the story of my life. I'm not the most brilliant guy. I am not the most highest IQ score or the best in the school or something like that. I'm not from Oxford. I'm not from Harvard. But the fact of the matter is that I got the highest award when I graduated for my master's thesis. And it was not because it was the most intelligent master's thesis. It was just because others were so lazy. And I got awarded there at Oracle as the best employee of the whole EMEA out of 60,000 employees, I think twice or three times. And again, not because I was the best or had the best sales score. It was because I did thing which is called extra mile. Extra mile doesn't mean burnout. It doesn't mean you work your butt off and slice and dice yourself to death. The thing is that most of us human beings, including myself and you, because we are humans, tend to be lazy, tend to be comfortable, tend to do only the minimum. So you don't need to do maximum. You don't need to do 200%. It's great if you do and you get successful and get your bonuses. But one of the things, Johnny, that sets apart one CV that I really picked out of 20 CVs that came in was that it was written on the motto on the title page before even the work experience starts, that something like this. I don't remember the exact wording. It said that I love the extra mile. It's never crowded. And that's the point. That's why I also got those awards, because people only do the minimum. But if you, let's speak about, I am in the intelligence business, right? So market and competitive intelligence, very much about research. So if you research 3 pages from Google, but everybody else is so lazy that they just look first page. Or let's say that you have some really, really smart competitor or peer in your group who also wants to do extra mile. So they will Google 4 pages, but you Google 7. So that's not rocket science. You don't need to be smartest. You just need to do a very little extra mile, and that will impress the interviewer to death. So one thing was understand about their business and so on. Second thing, find some examples where you have done some extra mile. And this is, for example, how we won a deal against Salesforce when I was at Oracle. So in the team that I was leading to get the deal with this one multinational, Salesforce had better brand. The products were equal. What we were selling as marketing tech solution, what they were selling, same functionalities, more or less the same price. Everything was more or less equal. They had a little bit better brand, but their salesperson was quite pushy and arrogant and proud because they had the brand and was just asking for signature. Whereas we were saying, hey, can we do a workshop with your management? We can fly in some gurus, for example, from UK or US and so on and so on. So we tried to add value. So instead of pushing for signature or something, try to add value. And this is about the extra mile, and this is about studying the interviewer's company a little bit, showing that you care. You do something little extra. And normal people, again, they are so lazy. They don't do the extra. They just push, okay, no go, next one, no go, next one. And no wonder they lose deals. So when you genuinely show that you care and you are interested because you want that job, then suddenly it starts to become important. This is especially important if, let's say that you are approaching for 20 companies, and in the beginning you treat them yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. But then finally you get with 3 of them to very final stages that you have gone through the first, second, third interview. Maybe you have 6 processes in the interview. In the end, you don't want to lose that because you have made already so much time and effort. Longer you get in that cycle, more it pays effort to study extra and show that you care. So, Johnny, this is really long answer, but what I'm trying to say is that if person makes the extra mile, shows some effort and so on, that really sets them apart. And because much of the people are just lazy, it's not rocket science. They just don't do it. That's the way to win deals. That's the way to do interviews. That's the way to set yourself apart. And the kind of the thing is that that's the basics of SDR, of studying the accounts, interviewing people, asking them questions, turning the situation around. Apart from that, why do you want this job? You can say, for example, that you want to get more skills and learn and get into their industry and so on, and then mention something that you have studied. But one other tough question what they will ask you at a certain point, maybe in the very beginning, is that what is your salary expectation? And there you can qualify yourself out potentially by saying to a little number or saying to a high number. So here, for example, you again need to turn the situation around and say, well, I rather would like not disclose it yet, but could you tell me what is the average range for this kind of role? And then you get the idea that the range is, let's say, between 30 or 50 or between 50 and 100 and whatever. And then you can say something a little bit over the middle or potentially the middle. And if you desperately want the job, a little bit less than middle, but never say the bottom number. Because so you don't want to sound desperate. If you are desperate, they don't want to have you. So nevertheless, that was not the question. The question was that why do you want to become the SDR? And I think one of the best things is to ask them back questions and show that you don't just want to learn from their industry, that actually you have already studied their industry, and you show it with these advanced questions based on something that happens exactly in this food tech or oil tech or finance tech or whatever that is, that tech area. Because again, you can use the SDR skills also in other industries that are not tech related. But boy, the tech companies, they pay the best salaries. And again, if you hate your job and your manager, don't worry. Just stick around for 1 year and go, because there's more jobs and there are many applicants, but there are not many qualified applicants. If you have the rock solid SDR background, you are a qualified applicant, and that means that you can command higher salary. And when you then excel in your job with those bonuses, you pay your mortgage away and you fly to Thailand. Or later, when your career accelerates, if you want to go to the field sales, you can buy a sailing boat with that bonus, even after the tax. That's crazy, but I have seen it happening.
Fantastic. Now, Kari, thank you so much. I think just to reiterate on that, going the extra mile, I mean, the quote that you said doesn't really need any additional comments on it. Even I was really inspired by that. I think speak for everybody as well. I appreciate that. Fortunately for you, Kari, I don't have any more questions. I've been inspired, so I'll open the floor to anybody else.
And if no one has at the moment question, but something pops up in your mind, so I'm writing now to the chat my name, and the company is Comintelli. So everyone, feel free to reach out to me in LinkedIn. And I think LinkedIn is one of your best friends. Try to network very much and build connections, because the connections you build now, completely potentially to irrelevant industries, can be very valuable for you after 3 or 5 years. So think like fishing. You are putting out the nets, and one day the fish shall come. I see one question in the chat which says, what are some unrelated sales qualities needed to thrive? Unrelated sales qualities. I wonder what Samuel means with this.
Sorry about that. I got kids running up and down the house, so I have to stay on mute. So apologies. What I mean is, put sales aside in terms of your personal life, like for example, reading or having conversations with friends and stuff. What are those qualities that you need that really matter when one to step into an SDR role?
Right. Good question. So there are several answers you get from several different people. One that people usually recommend to do is to stay curious. So try to learn about the industries or customer, general curiosity about everything in life. So more than cricket or football, but not only politics, not only football, not only money, a little bit about everything. Try to know what's going on. Try to be curious. And even when you are not curious, try to still keep yourself updated and follow what happens in industries and so on. So you can then have later different discussion topics and small talk and so on with your clients about something which is relevant to them, that you are knowledgeable. That can also come through reading those books, for instance. That's what some people say. Now, I would say that there is no silver bullet. It's more individual and personal. So what works for you maybe doesn't work for John, or sometimes that works for both of you maybe doesn't work for Jack, and so on. So you need to find kind of your own style. Other people say that the best quality that is for SDR and sales is to be doing sports, but not any random sports. Alternatively, some sports where you are individual, that you are measuring against a target, for example, to run marathon on certain time, or do a certain amount of push-ups, or whatever it might be, your sport metric, but there needs to be a metric, something which is achievable, something that you are striving for. Other people say that because IT sales tend to be complex and you are not working alone, you are working with a team and you have lots of experts involved, try to get involved in the group sports instead. So such as football or cricket or whatever it might be, where you have several players in the team, so that you can showcase that also in the job interview, that you are good in group work because you also do it in your private life context. Now, I'm not saying that reading books, watching news, or doing sports is the one that will make it or break it for you, because you need to find your own way. But this is what usually people say, that needs to be motivated, curious, target oriented. And when we say target oriented, it needs to have certain measurable targets. So one very simple example is that you want to, let's say, read 52 books in a year, or run 10 kilometers under 1 hour, or take something else. You are not sporty and you are not intellectual. I'm not saying you, Samuel, but in general, a person is not sporty or intellectual. What is something else that they feel passionate about? So let's say that they love cooking. So they want to reach the Michelin star life in their private life on cooking. Or let's say, like my wife, they are cleaning nerds. So they want that the house is tip top. So then maybe show that you become best in that or something in your private life. That might feel stressful and too much prestation oriented. However, this is the kind of thing that they expect, that not only the sales, but the leaders who take over responsibilities and become CEOs and so on of companies, that they would be goal oriented. But keeping that goal in mind in sales and SDR job, this is very crucial now. It's not about your product. It's not about your quota. It's about your customers' success and journey. If you can remove your customers' pain, help them to advance in their journey, get successful, and whatever it might be, think yourselves as a king and queen makers. If you make your customers, person you are talking with, successful, maybe they get job promotion, maybe they get salary increase, maybe they get more direct reports, people under them, or maybe something else. You make them feel good, even if they wouldn't get that money and that promotion. And they remember you as a person, because they don't remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. So if you make them feel successful, one day when they move to other company, they might buy from you again, just because of that history. Alternatively, you sell more to this existing company, or when they move forward to next company, you can sell there as well. Or yourself, you change company and you have something to sell to this same customer again, then they remember you in a positive way. And when you take care of your customers, then the customers will take care of the rest. You will get deals, and as a consequence, if there comes layoffs, they will not lay off the best performers. You are the ones who they want to keep, and you get your bonuses. So I said always like this, when there was stressful situation at job, and people were afraid for their jobs, for instance, and they were starting to play internal politics, who is friend with whom. I said, forget the politics. Forget who is friend with whom. Just focus on customers. The one who gets most meetings and time with customers is the one who learns most. And then the one who learns most is more likely to close most, and the one who closed the deals most is the one who gets the money most, and the one who gets the money most is the one who sets the bar. So now I think the time is running a little bit over, but I really wish that each of you who have any whatsoever questions reach out to me there in LinkedIn, and I'm happy to answer you privately even afterwards when I find time. So I promise to answer any of your questions. Just shoot me there. And it's really great to see that you have gone through this program, and I'm happy that Johnny and Jack has been helping you, because this is your golden ticket. Don't go and miss this opportunity. If you become rock solid SDR, no one can stop you. You can use the exactly same skills in your private life with your kids or wife or parents or father-in-law, mother-in-law, whoever it is. Because normal people are just lazy. They don't do the extra mile. You can be the game changer, and it's your life. You decide. You are not the victim. You are the one who sets the goal. You are the one who sets the journey, and you are the one who executes it. Let the other ones just watch. So without further ado, Johnny and Jack, I think over to you.
Wow. For me personally, I'll let Johnny wrap it up, but that has been one of the most inspirational talks I've been on, full stop. Honestly, I think there's so much value. I've written 2 pages of notes down. I think we need to debrief as a team, but from the bottom of my heart, Kari, it's been actually an absolute pleasure to have you on. So thank you so much, because I know it's Friday evening and you're still giving back and speaking to the guys. Yeah, anyone else, I guess we can put in the chat if there's any further questions, but Johnny, I'll let you lead it out if there isn't.
No, I appreciate that, Jack. Very much reiterating what you've just said. I think on a Friday night, Kari, with all your success over the years, to still have a place in your heart to come and help a team like ours and a group like ours, we appreciate it. I think sometimes going through the program and the course, we can be in the bubble, right? And sometimes what we're doing can seem a little bit repetitive, and you don't see the long-term impact, especially for the guys that are only about to get into the industry now. To have somebody like yourself, as successful as you are in the position that you're in, to reiterate exactly what we speak about every day, I cannot thank you highly enough. Listen, it's Friday. I don't want your wife, going mad at Johnny and Jack. I want you to go and spend some time with us, spend some time with your kids. We appreciate it. I'm sure the guys will contact you on LinkedIn if they've got any more questions. But again, from the bottom of my heart as well, thank you so much. It's truly been inspiring. And yeah, I think the thing that I'll take away from it today is go the extra mile. It's not crowded there. So on that note, have a fantastic evening, everybody. And we'll see you guys next week. And Kari, speak to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Kari. See you guys.